Do you know what the three contingencies are that are part of a real estate transaction? Today I'm going to explain to you what they are. Number one, inspection contingency. The inspection contingency is more part of the real estate transaction than the lender side. The inspection contingency is done typically with your real estate agent where you walk the property. You can bring contractors, sewer experts, electricians to see the condition of the property, thus then realizing if you want to purchase a property depending on what the results are of the inspections. You want to have professionals doing the inspections so you can see the conditions of the house. The last thing you want is to buy a house and you had foundation issues, electric problems, or something to do structurally with the property. That's why it's good to have a professional walk the property with you and your realtor to see what the conditions of the house are. Once you've signed off on all the inspection contingencies, then you can release the inspection contingency. Number two, appraisal contingency. The appraisal contingency is typically handled by the lender. Whenever we start the loan process, we have to send an inspector out there that's approved by the bank. And remember, the results of the appraisal are only the opinions of the appraiser that went out there to the property. There are forms where if the results are not favorable to you, where we can send someone to give a second opinion. It's not recommended, but it is possible. When the appraiser goes out to the property, his job is to determine the value of the property. He's going to have to walk through the property, check the conditions of the house, check for the basic guidelines, make sure that the water heater strapped, stuff like that to make sure that the house is livable and in safe conditions to inhabit the property. Once all this is done, then he has to determine what the value is, determining by comps, which means property that's sold around the neighborhood, what the values of those are, if they're similar like properties, if it has a pool, if it doesn't, how many bedrooms, all these factors take in consideration, and this is what determines the value. Once the appraiser finalizes the report, he will send it back to us, meaning underwriting, to make sure that everything is up to guidelines, and then we'll determine if everything is good to be checked off. Once the appraisal has been cleared from underwriting, then the buyer can remove the appraisal contingency. It's very important to note that if the property does not appraise, meaning that let's say you bought a $600,000 property and the appraisal came back at $550,000, the buyer would have to bridge the gap between the $550,000 that it appraised and the $600,000 purchase price. Number three, last but not least, loan contingency. This is the most important contingency. Once the appraisal contingency has been removed, then typically the buyer has relinquished all rights to his initial earnest money deposit. Whatever down payment you did initially to open escrow, then now it's released to the seller. Once your loan has been fully approved, we've gone through all the loan conditions, make sure that everything has been met, then the lender will communicate with the buyer to make sure that we are okay to remove contingencies. This is typically done towards the end of the loan, once we're on the final stages. Once we release contingencies, then we can move to the final stages of requiring closing disclosures and then obviously getting the loan docs to close the loan. Whenever we hear CTC, that means that pretty much the loan is done and we should be able to close within the next few days. Clear to close. That's like a money bell. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys have any questions and want to get further into any of these topics, please give me a call and I'll be happy to schedule a one-on-one call and explain to you any of these points with you. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys on the next one.